Okay, we're continuing with Best of the West and Art, Music, Movies, and Music by me, Pete Rogers, your free liberal arts college education. So we're on page 132. The question is, who is the third best economics writer amongst males? And it's this guy right here named Vox Day. And he wrote this book, Social Justice Warriors Always Lie. It's a very good book. And it basically tells you the truth, how stuff goes down. All of this stuff about the left takeover of the university system and many American institutions, it's all bogus. It's all done simply to bring back slavery. You know, it all comes down to the same thing. If you need a coherent viewpoint, they have to get rid of the white Christian man in order to bring back slavery, and all other groups they consider to be weak and easy to control or buy off or just push out or push aside or to trick, okay? Except for the white Christian man. So he has to be done away with. And that's partly why you hear all this stuff. Oh, we need to hire more minorities. Oh, we need to hire more women. They don't care about minorities and they don't care about women. They simply want to use them to displace the white Christian man because they do care about him. They see him as a problem. He's too interested in freedom. They don't want freedom. Freedom has to go. The goal is to bring back slavery. It is obvious. It's been in writing for decades, even though most people still don't get it because they've been so controlled. Their brains are so shrunken by the public schools. They can't understand something that is so obvious, okay? The third best modern female sociology writer would be Heather McDonald. Okay, you can see she got lots of YouTube videos. This guy's got a lot of YouTube videos as well. Third best professor at thegreatcourses.com will be William Cook. He had a pretty good course on the cathedrals. He had a good course on Machiavelli, a really good course on Tocqueville, on the Catholic Church. So, you know, he's a good professor. Pretty straightforward, but he's good. Okay, best male art historian, Tom Wolfe. And he wrote some books, you know, talking about what a joke modern art is. Modern art is totally fake. It's, again, just gaslighting. Part of the same giant push through money paid for by the billionaire perverts to destroy Western civilization. It's completely fake, and it's used to create these fake museums. Thus, real artists who've made really good paintings, and there are some out there, they don't have anywhere to put their work, and they push them out of the professorships at the university. So the students who study art can't find a good professor. It's really sad. It's a disgrace. You know, the easy answer is imagine somebody from the Belle Epoque, the Italian Renaissance, to come and see our art museums. They say it's a disgrace. Modern art is ugly. It's fake. A child could do it. Okay, now the next chapter, chapter 4, a little bit on free speech. Charles Bradlaugh. Without free speech, no search for the truth is possible. Without free speech, progress is checked and the nations no longer march forward toward the nobler life. Better 1,000-fold abuse of free speech than denial of free speech. The abuse dies in a day, but the denial stays the life of the people and entombs hope. Yeah, he's telling the truth. This guy knows. He knows what he's talking about. You need free speech, even if it's offensive. You need to allow free speech. Otherwise, everything goes down into the garbage can. You end up in atheistic totalitarianism, and that's where we're headed. We're already like halfway there, more than halfway there. Okay, a quote by Harry Brown from How I Found Freedom in an Unfree World. He says, you want to see things truly so you can deal with them properly. Truth isn't an end in itself. It's always a means to an end. The purpose of knowing the truth is to be able to make it work for you. You need to know the truth in order to deal with things as they actually are and to get predictable results from them. You may want to know the truth of a particular mechanical cause and effect relationship so you can fix your car. The principle is always the same. You want the truth so you can use it to produce a consequence that you want. Truth is information that leads to predictable results. The test to be applied to any idea is, does it work? Okay, so we need the truth in order to make a decision. If we're going to make good decisions, we have to base them on correct information. Okay, and here's a quote by Nathaniel Branden. He's the sort of young psychologist guy who had a love affair with Ayn Rand when he was her student. He said, anyone who really loves you wants you to be authentic. And anyone who doesn't want you to be authentic doesn't really love you. Okay, that's good advice. All right, so all this stuff about hate speech and all this stuff, misinformation and all this stuff, it's just because somebody doesn't want to allow you free speech. It's not good. Okay, Robert Louis Stevenson. Modern open-mindedness about true intellectual variety of ideas is like that of Procrustes on the physical heights of his guess. To know what you prefer instead of humbly saying amen to what the world tells you you ought to prefer is to have kept your soul alive. Yeah, and it's all these rules. They're worse for a smart person because a stupid person doesn't really have much intellectual range, and it's hard for them to say anything unique, or original, or anything. But an intelligent person, they can see what a joke all this popular consensus nonsense is. Okay, I was going to tell one quick story about once I was listening to some classical music when a guy with a 2-year college degree interrupted me and he says, "Why you listen to that?" And I said, "Because I like it." And he goes, "Really? I don't know anyone who listens to classical music." He says, "When I hear that classical music stuff, it sounds to me like a Tom and Jerry cartoon." And I said, "Well, for me, it reminds me of my childhood. My father listened to Bach and Chopin and Strauss a lot. My mom loved Strauss. My dad also loved Irish music and John McCormick, the Irish singer, opera singer. My mom, loved the Strauss waltzes, Christmas music, especially Pavarotti. My girlfriend loved Albinoni, Pachelbel, and Schubert, and all that stuff. And Bach, of course. She named her dog after it. I used to study with Arcangelo Corelli or Telemann, Vivaldi, and Bach, Handel's water music playing in the background." And he said, "Oh." And then I said, I think people tend to like the music they listened to when they were young, especially from their teenage years, because it reminds them of when they were young. And I think that's all true. And I do love all that music. Okay, in his book, The Time Machine by H.G. Wells, a modern man traveled into the future, and there were two main groups of people. There were the wimpy people that lived above ground called the Eloi. And then the stronger people who lived underground were called the Morlocks, and they cannibalized the Eloi. Yeah, modern man has become so pussified and feminized and estrogenified and wimpified and gynocracy controlled that he's just letting his civilization be destroyed with no attempt to save it. Actually, a lot of guys are on the internet trying to teach about Western civilization, how great it is, and try to save it, but they're losing. Okay. John Lennox, atheists are often silent about the wrongs done by atheists. Oh yeah, most of the evil in the world comes from atheism. Okay, John Stuart Mill, how can great minds be produced in a country where the test of great minds is agreeing to the opinion of small minds? Yes, that sounds familiar. Alan Bloom, author of The Closing of the American Mind, he said, "Law may prescribe that male nipples be made equal to female ones, but they still won't give milk." Yes, that is true. Men and women are very different. So all this blurring of the gender distinctions between men and women is a way to lower fertility rates. Okay, the more you send a woman to school, the less babies she has. The higher a woman's academic IQ, the lower her biologic IQ. Okay, Theodore Dalrymple wrote his quote here, "Modern Englishmen are barbarians walking in the ruins of a civilization that was better than theirs." Yeah, most young people are so ignorant, they don't even know what has been taken away from them, Western civilization. Okay, number 4, best fresco painting, The Last Judgment by Michelangelo. So here it is, magnificent. And that's a big part of Christianity, this idea of you're going to be judged by Jesus Christo, at the time of your death, and, you want to be good. You want a positive judgment. There's Mary, there's Michelangelo being held himself, and magnificent painting. The guy who used to give Michelangelo a hard time, he painted him in that as being engulfed by a snake and pulled down into hell. So, there it is. There's man's hope for freedom, and it's slipping away. Christianity is progressively been pushed out of the public sphere, and it's going to be made illegal. It's where all the good art comes from, almost all of it, over 99% of it, and about 99% of good literature, most of the good sculpture, the scientific method. It's real sad. And, people say, "Oh, well, so what?" Oh, it has a big deal. Look at all of our modern science. Almost all of it is bogus and dishonest because it's funded by corporations or other special interests that just want it to produce advertisements, not real information. You walk into some public place and you hear all this terrible music on the speakers. You don't even hear Christmas carols anymore because, oh, that's too Christian. Well, Christmas is a national holiday. It's a Christian holiday. Okay, you walk into an art museum, you don't see any real art, you see all this fake modern art. These are examples of how our culture is degraded by this atheism. And you go into places and they'll say, "Oh, it's winter break." No, it's Christmas break, okay? Christmas break has special meaning. Winter break is just bleak nonsense, Anyways, this is where things are at. The Last Judgment of Michelangelo. Last Judgment of Christ, painted by Michelangelo.